Hi, everyone. Great to be here with you tonight in Helsinki and to hear such inspiring stories of the growth speakers before me. Today, we wanted to share a little bit of our story to date from the initial idea back in 2008 to today, when we're in over 230 cities in 49 countries around the world, and also to share a little bit of our vision for the future. So where did it all start? Initially, the idea was born out in Paris, where our founders, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp, were at Le Web. And it was a cold winter's night, probably very similar to tonight, and they were struggling to get a car to go home. And they thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could just get a car at the touch of a button? And that was basically the idea. So how it works, you probably all know this. You download the app from the iTunes store or from the Android store. You sign up, you give your payment details, credit card or PayPal, and you open up the app. What you see are the available cars near around you. It locates where you are using the geolocation in your smartphone, and you can see how near the nearest car is. You press one button to book, and you're immediately past the driver's photo, name, and registration, and you can watch them drive up in the app. No more waiting around on the street corner. You get in the car when he or she arrives, travel to your destination, and at the end, you just get out. It's a fully cashless system, so the payment is charged automatically. You're sent the receipt in the app, and then importantly, after the end of every trip, you're asked to rate your driver. You give them a rating out of 5 stars, and that's one of the ways that we ensure that all the drivers and the cars on the platform live up to the high standards that we expect at Uber. This is one of our internal systems called GodView. Obviously, we have to see all of the trips that are going on to make sure that we're monitoring everything. And this was in the early days in San Francisco on a Saturday night. The cars you can see are the cars available on the platform. The little man with his hand in the air is someone requesting a trip. And those blue lines, or snail trails, are the trips that are in progress. And the team was ecstatic. They had 4 concurrent trips happening at the same time, they're opening champagne. And from there, we launched out to other cities. In every city, we have a local team. Here's New York on a Monday morning. Here you can see what it looks like at scale. On every block, there's a couple of Uber cars, and they're being used. They're not sitting around empty. And with that scale comes choice. At Uber, we try to bring the consumer as much choice as we can. So there's the initial Uber Black product, our sort of signature limousine service. But there's also a cheaper option, Uber X. There's some larger cars, Uber XL and SUV. And we even offer taxi products on our platform in many cities. And when you get that kind of scale, you're able to reach our aspiration of bringing you a car in a matter of a couple of minutes. These are our arrival times, average arrival times from the last couple of weeks in major cities around the world. And it's not just in the US that we've reached that scale. In London, 3.8 minutes. Over in Stockholm, 3.9 minutes on average, round the clock, throughout the city. So for the consumer level, we're obviously bringing convenience. But at a macro level, the platform also brings a lot of benefits. In Seattle, drunk driving incidents dropped by 10% after Uber launched. They've also seen a reduction in taxi crime in Chicago, for example. It's also fantastic for entrepreneurs and small business owners. Firstly, all the drivers on the Uber platform are small business owners. They're independent drivers who work with Uber as much or as little as they want on a non-exclusive basis. So they can fit Uber around whatever other commitments they have in their life. But also, many small businesses in a city aren't in those central, expensive, easy-to-reach areas. So Uber is a way for them to get more customers to their businesses, a route to market almost. 1 in 3 Uber trips in Chicago started or ended at small businesses last year. It's also a great way to reach the underserved areas of a city. In Paris, for example, this shows the pickups and the drop-offs around the city. 15% of Uber trips start or end more than 1 kilometer away from the closest train or tube station. So there's no more having to walk that last bit home at the end of the night. But of course, Uber's just part of a wider transportation system. We want to bring an extra choice and an extra complement to the existing transportation options in the city. Of course, the backbone of that is public transportation, but that needs to be complemented by many other options, whether it's shared bikes or car rentals or taxis or Ubers or whatever that might be. So we've started to think about what a city with fewer cars might look like. What would those smart cities of the future look like? Obviously, one of the first things when a city has a lot of cars is congestion, traffic jams, pollution, time wasted, running late for meetings. Here's some local stats from Finland. There's 2.5 million passenger cars in Finland. That's 1 for every 2 people in the country. And there's only 4 European countries that have more cars per capita than that. But on average, those cars are only used for 5% of the day. The rest of the time, that's 1 hour a day. The rest of the time, they're in parking or left back home. And that means that around 10% of urban land is used for parking space. And there's obviously the environmental impact as well of so many cars on the road and being manufactured. One of the benefits Uber brings through the efficiency of the platform is a lower cost of moving around. This is an example calculator where you can put in the costs of running your car and compare it to how many Uber rides you could get. This is an example for Paris, where typically it costs 5,000 or 6,000 euros per year to run your car. If you work it out here, that means you could get 66 Uber rides per month for the same cost as running your car. Now, that's more than most of us use our cars in a month if we live in a city. So we've been thinking about how to get those efficiencies, to get fewer cars in the cities of the future. Once you start sharing these underutilized assets, you can get so many benefits. So the first way we looked at it is to look at what are the efficiencies you get from sharing cars. For example, in Finland, on average, there's 1.4 passengers in each car. And those cars only do 2.9 trips per day. Your typical Uber driver can easily do about 17 trips in a day. Imagine he works 8 hours, he does a couple of trips per hour. That's easily achievable, which means to get the same number of people where they need to get to, it takes 6 times fewer cars. For every fully utilized Uber, you can take 6 cars off the road. Now, what if we looked at how we could actually get more passengers in the cars to get even more efficiency? Uber Pool. It's an experiment that we launched a couple of months ago in San Francisco. It's exactly like Uber. You open up the app, you request a car, but when you get in, there's someone else already in that car who's going from a similar destination, a similar origin to a similar destination. And they're usually less than 2 minutes out of your way. And for that extra 2 minutes detour, you get to split the costs of that journey. And at those sort of economics, it gives people the flexibility and the option not to have to own a car. Of course, some people will still want to own a car and drive at times, but it gives people that option. And then imagine, take it to a further extreme. We talk about the perpetual trip. What if the system is at such scale and such liquidity that the driver picks up passenger 1, then he picks up passenger 2, then he drops off passenger 1 again, and then he picks up passenger 3, and he's always got a passenger in the car. And the efficiency you get from those assets when you get to that point is incredible. Imagine that, say, on every trip, there's 3 passengers in the car, double what there is today. That means that for every fully utilized, shared and pooled Uber, you could take 13 cars off the road. If we take that to the extreme here in Finland, even if we just think about sharing, forget about pooling for a moment, if everyone shared the cars, you could take 200,000 cars off the road. Obviously, that's pushing it to the extreme, but it's showing the potential of this system. And that creates jobs. That's not taking away jobs. It's a common misconception. To be able to have that many shared vehicles, you need to have many more drivers driving around the city. It's increasing the size of the pie. Then if you add in pooling as well, at the extreme, you could then halve congestion even further. And this is the vision that we've been working to in the 230 plus cities around the world and the 49 countries that we're operating in. We think if we can get this working, it means cities with less congestion, fewer pollution and emissions, less time wasted in traffic, and of course more jobs and more economic opportunities, both for the drivers and for all those businesses that we serve. Which brings me here to Helsinki and the Nordics. Imagine if we could bring a solution like that here in the Nordics, one of the most forward-looking regions of the world. We launched in Sweden nearly 2 years ago and have had amazing success there. Huge demand from both the customers and the drivers. Gothenburg launched a couple of months ago. And then we're really excited to announce today that we're launching today in 3 more Nordic cities. In Oslo, in Copenhagen, and of course here in Helsinki. We opened up the service just earlier today here in those 3 cities. We're offering 2 services here. Uber Black, our standard iconic sort of luxury chauffeur service. It's a Mercedes E-Class or S-Class or a BMW. Drivers, some of the best drivers in the city and very high quality standards. And then alongside that, we're doing a limited pilot of our Uber Pop service, our innovative ride-sharing service that could start to unlock some of the benefits I've just talked about. So we're really excited to be here now in the region, and we very much look forward to seeing what we can develop here in the region, discussing with all the stakeholders that are relevant during the course of this pilot, and figuring out how we can make Helsinki, Oslo, Copenhagen, Stockholm, all the cities of the Nordics, some of the smartest cities with the best transportation systems around. Thank you very much.